So the American Psychological Association, right, they've come out and apologized for racial bias,
Yeah.
like in their research, which is a pretty huge deal when you think about it.
It really is. I mean, it makes you wonder, right? Like if bias can creep into psychology.
Yeah.
I mean, something that fundamental.
Which is supposed to be like the study of the mind.
Exactly.
What about all the other scientific fields out there? Like, what are we missing?
Right.
So that's what we're going to deep dive into today. This idea that maybe mainstream science, maybe they've kind of stumbled onto this whole black man is God idea.
Okay.
But like buried the evidence because it's just too disruptive. You know, like it would just turn everything upside down.
Yeah.
And you sent us some really interesting stuff for this one.
Yeah.
We've got excerpts from this book called Inside Black God.
Okay.
Some AI summaries of like related research.
Interesting.
And even like some scientific articles on melanin.
Wow.
So we're going to see if there's any fire behind all this smoke, especially with,
Especially given what the APA is saying.
Exactly.
It really throws a wrench in the whole objectivity thing, doesn't it?
For sure.
Like we always assume science is,
Neutral.
neutral. But what if it's not?
Right. And this book, it goes right into this idea of suppressed knowledge, even hints at maybe like a secret group.
A kind of
like
Wakanda thing?
Yeah, like a Wakanda thing within Black culture itself, just like carefully controlling how this information gets out there.
Oh, wow.
But hold on, before we get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, let's back up a bit.
Let's break down this whole black man is God concept, right? The book looks at it through like the 5% nation lens, doesn't it?
Right. The 5%ers, they came out of the 60s, and their whole thing is that the black man is God.
Okay.
But, like, not God in the traditional sense, like up in the clouds.
Right.
It's more about the original man.
The source.
Exactly. Possessing this inherent knowledge of self and the universe.
Essential.
Yes. It's about recognizing that potential within...
But the author takes it even further than just black identity, right? They're saying it's like a universal key to understanding the cosmos.
They do, and it's a bold claim for sure.
So how do they even get there?
Well, part of it is their personal journey. I mean, they talk about studying Tai Chi, Taoist healing, all that.
Okay.
But then there's these dreams they have, these recurring dreams. They call them geometric assembly dreams.
Geometric assembly dreams.
Yeah, it's wild. Imagine like shapes forming in your mind based on sounds you hear.
Like a cosmic synesthesia.
Exactly.
So it's not just theory for them. It's like lived experience.
It is. They argue these dreams, these experiences, they're not random. They're glimpses into like the structure of reality itself.
Wow.
And get this, they tie it all back to scientific research on melanin.
Melanin, like the thing that gives us skin color.
Yeah, that melanin. We all know about that, right?
Sure.
But there's a growing body of research suggesting it might be way more than just pigment. The author points to research about superconductivity, bioresonance, even consciousness itself.
Whoa.
Now, these findings, they're still early, but it does raise some questions. Like, if melanin really does have these crazy properties, and it's found in higher concentrations in people of African descent, well...
It kind of makes you think, huh?
It really does.
I mean, is it possible that science, with all its biases that the APA is talking about now, is it possible that they've just overlooked this stuff because it's too close to this whole black man is God idea?
It's definitely possible. And, the author of Inside Black God doesn't stop there. They go on to suggest maybe there's like a Wakanda-like group within Black culture itself.
So not just bias, but like a deliberate effort to keep this under wraps.
They argue that if this knowledge got out all at once, that melanin is the key to unlocking all this human potential, echoing this black man as God concept. It could like shatter our understanding of race, biology, spirituality, everything.
Wow.
Imagine the societal upheaval if that happened overnight.
Yeah, that's a lot of process.
It challenges everything we think we know about ourselves, our history, our place in the universe.
So this group, this hypothetical group,
they're like a buffer, slowly releasing information as humanity becomes ready.
Fascinating.
Whether it's intentional or not, this idea of a controlled release of knowledge like this, it's definitely something to think about.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, what are we truly ready for?
As individuals, as a society, what are the limits of what we can even perceive, let alone accept?
Because the author says this knowledge, if handled right, could unite humanity.
It could. But there's also the flip side.
The misuse.
Exactly. Like any powerful knowledge, it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
And that's where they start to bring in ancient wisdom traditions, alongside all this modern science.
Yeah, they talk about Egyptian mysteries, yogic science, Hebrew Kabbalah.
It's like they're trying to weave together a tapestry where all these seemingly different ideas start to connect.
And then there's the word analysis, like breaking down O and Lord.
Right, connecting O to subspace induction regions.
Okay, now that's just mind-blowing.
And Lord, linking it to both physical housing and spiritual inhabitation.
I have to admit, some of this is going over my head.
It's a lot to unpack, for sure.
Yeah.
But the author is trying to show that these ancient traditions might have been onto something real, something we're only now starting to glimpse with modern physics.
But it's not like chanting OM literally creates a black hole or something.
Not literally, no, but it's about recognizing the power of sound and vibration as fundamental forces in the universe.
Forces that have been explored for centuries, but maybe we've misunderstood.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about Lord? How does that fit in?
It's about the layers of meaning in language. Lord can be a ruler, a deity, but also someone who dwells in a house.
Right.
The author connects that to our physical bodies as dwellings for our spirits, our consciousness.
Bridging the physical and metaphysical.
Yes, another example of that.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connections here. And then there's the phi ratio, the golden ratio.
This mathematical proportion that seems to be everywhere. Nature, art, even our DNA.
Yeah, how does that tie in?
The author points to it as a principle of harmony, a universal principle. Its presence in so many different aspects of our world, even in our very DNA, suggests a deeper order, a deeper connection to the cosmos.
Like these patterns, these principles, they're not just random.
Exactly. They point to a profound interconnectedness.
And they link this back to the black man as God concept.
They do, suggesting that maybe this potential for knowledge, for connecting to the universe, it might be encoded within us. Perhaps through melanin, perhaps through the phi ratio.
It's definitely a fascinating idea, but I gotta be honest, some of this feels like a bit of a stretch.
Sure.
Like, is there any real evidence to back this up, or is it mostly just interpretation?
I mean, it's fair to ask, right?
Yeah.
The author definitely goes into some, let's say, unconventional theories,
Right.
drawing connections between, like, ancient civilizations and unexplained phenomena.
Mhm.
They even touch on the possibility of, like, extraterrestrial influence.
Wait, are we going full ancient aliens here?
Not exactly, but they do point out some interesting things, like how a lot of these ancient cultures...
Like the Egyptians?
Yeah, the Egyptians, they had this advanced knowledge, right? Astronomy, mathematics, medicine.
Right.
And the author asks, what if this knowledge wasn't, like, stumbled upon? What if it was inherited?
Inherited.
Right.
From who?
Well, maybe from a more advanced civilization.
Like aliens.
The author doesn't explicitly say aliens, but they leave the possibility open. They bring up the Dogon tribe in Africa,
Oh, yeah, I heard of them.
They have this incredibly accurate astronomical knowledge. Like, they knew about Sirius B.
The white dwarf star, right?
Yeah, long before scientists officially discovered it.
And they say they got that knowledge from these beings, the nomos.
Right, these amphibious beings from the Sirius star system. Pretty wild, huh?
It is.
Now, the author doesn't say for sure that the Dogon met aliens, but they present the information, Let the readers decide.
Okay, interesting. But what about Atlantis? That's got to be a myth, right?
Maybe. But the author points out that Plato, the guy who first wrote about Atlantis,
Yeah.
he was a philosopher, not a fiction writer.
That's true.
So they suggest maybe there's some truth to the story. Like,
Yeah.
maybe there really was an advanced civilization that got wiped out by some catastrophe.
Okay, I'll bite. But how does all this connect back to melanin? To the black man as God idea?
Yeah.
It seems like we're getting pretty far off track.
Remember, the author's whole point is that melanin might be more than just pigment.
Right.
They're saying it could be a key to unlocking hidden knowledge, hidden potential, and maybe, just maybe, these ancient civilizations or even extraterrestrial beings, they understood this.
So melanin is kind of technology.
It's a possibility the author explores.
Right.
They talk about how melanin can absorb and store energy,
Okay.
how it interacts with electromagnetic fields.
Right.
And they suggest that these properties could have been used for things like communication, maybe even consciousness expansion, by civilizations that knew how to harness its power.
Okay, I see where you're going with this, but are we saying that black people are like superheroes, like the X-Men or something?
Not in the comic book sense. It's not about superpowers, but about recognizing a potential that's been
Suppressed.
Yeah, suppressed, ignored, even feared throughout history.
Hmm.
And the author suggests that if this potential was fully realized, it could change everything.
That's a big statement.
It is.
Is there, any scientific basis for this idea that melanin could be so powerful?
Well, the author brings in a bunch of different fields of science to support their arguments, not just melanin, but stuff from quantum physics, string theory, chaos theory.
Okay, now you're losing me. Holograms. Consciousness shaping reality. Come on, break it down for me.
Okay, imagine our reality, the physical world.
Yeah.
Imagine it's like a projection, a hologram.
Okay.
And our consciousness, our thoughts, our intentions, they can influence that projection.
So we're creating our own reality.
It's a concept that some scientists are starting to explore. Like maybe we have more power to shape our reality than we think.
And the author suggests that melanin, with its unique properties, could play a role in this. Maybe allows us to tap into a deeper level of reality where consciousness and matter are connected.
So melanin is like the key to unlocking this power.
It's a possibility.
Okay, I'm trying to keep up. We've got melanin, ancient wisdom, modern physics, aliens. What's the main point the author's trying to make?
The core argument is that we don't really understand reality or ourselves as well as we think we do.
Okay.
They're saying we have this hidden potential, maybe linked to melanin, that could unlock a deeper understanding of the universe and our place in it.
And they tied this back to the black man as God concept.
Right. Suggesting it might be more than a metaphor, but a glimpse of a profound truth.
A truth that science and maybe society itself isn't ready for.
Exactly.
It's a lot to take in, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting.
That's what makes the book so fascinating. It challenges us to think outside the box, to consider possibilities that might seem crazy at first. You mentioned earlier about this Wakanda-like group controlling the release of this knowledge. Do they say anything about who they are, how they operate?
The author doesn't name any specific group, but they explore the idea of a lineage of knowledge holders, passing this information down through generations.
Like a secret society.
Maybe. They talk about secret symbols, rituals, things like that.
Like the Freemasons, the Illuminati.
They don't mention those groups specifically,
Okay.
but they do point out that a lot of secret societies throughout history have claimed to have this kind of hidden knowledge.
Knowledge about spirituality, the nature of reality.
Exactly.
So it's like a big mystery.
Yeah.
And we're trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah, I like that. The author gives us all this information, these connections, but they don't give us all the answers.
They want us to do our own research.
Right, to draw our own conclusions.
And maybe unlock our own hidden potential along the way.
Maybe that's the point. The author seems to believe we all have the capacity for greatness.
For connecting to something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. And maybe melanin, this molecule we thought was just about skin color, maybe it's the key to unlocking that.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. Ancient wisdom, aliens, quantum physics, secret societies. My head is spinning. What's next?
Well, the author gets into some specific examples of how these ideas could play out in the real world, like how melanin could be used in technology.
Melanin-powered spaceships.
Maybe not spaceships, but they talk about melanin's ability to, absorb and conduct energy. And they suggest it could be used to create new kinds of solar power or even totally revolutionary computing technologies.
Well, that would be game-changing.
It would.
What about the spiritual side of things? Does the author give any advice on how to, tap into this hidden potential?
They do. They talk about meditation, connecting with nature, recognizing the interconnectedness of everything.
That sounds like good advice for anyone.
It is. They also talk about self-knowledge, understanding our place in the universe. They suggest that unlocking the secrets of melanin might also unlock the secrets of our own consciousness.
Leading to, a spiritual awakening.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
The author is inviting us to come along for the ride, to explore, to question, to open our minds and see if there's more to us than we've been told, to tap into that hidden potential, to become more than human.
The author might say to become fully human, to realize our potential not just as individuals, but as a species.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
But is any of this proven? Or is it all just speculation? Okay, so we spent the last couple parts of this deep dive, really getting into some pretty wild stuff from Inside Black God.
It is pretty wild.
Melanin as a key to hidden knowledge, consciousness shaping reality. Even this idea of a group, like a Wakanda-like group, controlling how this info gets out there.
Right.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. It really is. And I think it's important to remember the context here. The author published this book independently. No big publisher, no big marketing push.
So it's not like it was a guaranteed bestseller or anything.
Exactly. But here we are talking about it.
Yeah, connecting it to things like the APA apology and all the conversations about bias in science.
Right. And it almost makes you think, right, like maybe this book itself is part of that controlled release of information, just like slowly making its way into the world, starting these conversations.
It does make you wonder, how does information spread?
Right. Especially ideas that are challenging.
Or like way outside the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. And the author talks a lot about the power of language, symbols, storytelling. Like maybe those are the tools we need to bridge the gaps between science and spirituality.
Between different cultures.
Yeah, between different ways of seeing the world.
So it's not just about presenting facts and figures.
No, it's about putting those facts into a story that people can connect with.
Like the author uses the 5% Nation framework as a starting point.
Right.
But they also weave in ancient myths.
Modern physics, personal stories.
It's a whole tapestry, engaging our minds and our hearts.
Exactly. And that's what makes this book and this deep dive so interesting, right? It's not just information, it's a journey.
An exploration, a story that draws you in.
Yes. You're not just reading it, you're experiencing it.
It makes me think of that Carl Sagan quote.
Oh, yeah?
Imagination will often carry us to worlds that never were, but without it, we go nowhere.
I love that quote.
And maybe that's what this book is doing, right? Pushing us to use our imaginations to explore these new ideas, these possibilities.
Even if they seem kind of out there at first.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe they hold the key to understanding ourselves, the universe, everything.
Maybe they do. The author seems to believe that we're capable of so much more than we realize.
That we have this hidden potential.
Yeah.
Just waiting to be unlocked.
And maybe, just maybe, exploring melanin, consciousness, all this ancient wisdom, maybe that's part of the key.
Okay, I'm ready to unlock some potential. But where do we go from here? What are we supposed to do with all this information, all these possibilities?
That is the big question, isn't it? And honestly, the author doesn't give us any easy answers. There's no step-by-step guide.
So what? We just got to figure it out ourselves.
In a way, yeah. It's a challenge, an invitation to explore.
To question everything.
To open our minds to new ways of thinking.
To look inside and see if there's more to us than we've been told.
Exactly.
To tap into that hidden potential. To become, I don't know, more than human.
The author might say to become fully human.
To realize our potential, not just as individuals, but as a whole species.
Yeah, it's a pretty epic call to action, but it's also exciting, don't you think? Like, the possibilities are endless.
They really are.
It's not just about getting information, it's about hope.
Wonder.
This sense that maybe, just maybe, we're not limited by what we think we know.
That we can break free from our preconceived notions and create something new.
A better future for ourselves, for everyone.
Yeah, and if this deep dive has sparked even a little bit of that curiosity in you,
And a sense of wonder.
we encourage you to check out the source material yourself.
Inside Black God.
It's not about blind faith. It's about opening your mind to new possibilities.
To seeing the world in a different way.
Because at the end of the day, the most important journey is the one we take within ourselves.
That's where the real discoveries are made.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Inside Black God.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time as we explore more of the unknown.